Welcome to Holding Space. Michael Zen is a visual producer and creative photographer using his imaginative visionary energy to channel Zen and hold space for spiritual and innovative discussion. Each episode creates a supportive, accepting, and open environment that allows exploration and expertise to come together with engaging and entertaining convergence. With guest and community all helping the shape of the way, Michael is grateful to be together to hold space. Now here is your host of Holding Space, Michael Zen.
Hello, hello. Oh, look at that. I'm so tiny. There we go. Now I can hold some space properly. I don't know what they're doing with this StreamYard interface down here at the bottom, but here I am. It's a Tuesday. I'm here holding space for you guys again, and I'm excited to be here on the Sacred Spiral Network, always on Tuesdays. So thank you guys for welcoming me into your home and pulling up a chair, and it's good to see Helen Wagner out there already in the front row. Nice. The Sacred Spiral Network is an amazing place with all sorts of great shows with featuring all sorts of different metaphysical gifts and higher kind of thinking, deeper thinking. I don't like to say higher or lower, right? But deeper thinking. And just a place where everyone can kind of sit back and relax and be themselves, and that's what I like to do. So I'm excited about tonight, and tonight I get to meet somebody new. The amazing Kelly Brickle has been booking guests for Holding Space. I do a show on Thursdays called The Live Stream of Consciousness. I book the guests there, but Kelly's been helping me out, and there's such an amazing community of mediums and astrologers and numerologists and everything at the Sacred Spiral Network. So I'm always excited to see what she's got planned for me, and tonight is no different. What I do like to do before I start the show is, besides welcome everybody, is I like to just set the intention for the moment, clear the space, and connect with my breath, and give you guys the moment to connect with your breath, connect with yourself. I think that connecting with breath is one of the simplest things that we can do to basically be right in the moment. It's just something that we do all day long without thinking about it. We're breathing, our body is alive, breathing keeps us alive, but connecting with the breath, I think, kind of it's a little bit of a doorway for me to the non-physical parts of myself, right? The parts that are in my mind, that are in my thoughts. I hold my head because physically that's where it is, but really it's everywhere. It's out everywhere. And what is up, White Winged Man Medium? Good to see you. Welcome. And Bernadette, good to see you too. You got my email. Awesome. Reply whenever the moment feels right. Everything happens when it's supposed to. So I'm glad that you got my email. We've been talking about getting you on the show for a while, so we'll just take that to the next step. Anyway, let's do clearing the space. I'm going to clear the space sonically with my bowl. Sage here. Sage, obviously named because she clears the space for me, and also helps to guide us through the three breaths. So I do in through my nose. I draw in for 3 or 4 seconds. I hold up at the top for just a minute, or not a minute, but a second or so. And then I intentionally release the breath. So I push it out. You'll hear me push it out. I see Kay Weezy here as well. What's up, Kay Weezy? Good to see you always. And Gloria Hall is also here and new here. Welcome. I love new folks coming in and just kind of experiencing this and being, what the heck's going on? And they just stay and they just feel it. And Mark 72, also from Finland, introducing the international flavor to the show tonight. Thank you, Mark from Finland. All right. So guys, we're going to do 3 breaths together, less than 60 seconds, and then we'll be done and ready for the show. So follow along with Sage. Here we go. I'm going to just breathe in through my nose. Holding it up at the top for just a quick second and then feeling it release, feeling it leave my body, feeling my shoulders relax a little bit. Another breath in. Hold it up at the top for just a second and then let it go, just like anything that you don't need from the day. Just let it go. Move on to the new moment. Last breath in together. Hold it up at the top for just a second. Let it out. Feel yourself relax. Listen to sage still ring out. Awesome. Awesome. I love that you can feel it physiologically. You can physiologically feel the difference in the air, in your blood, in your lungs, in your brain. What's up, Allison Moody? Good to see you. What's up, Ariel? Good to see you too. Evelyn, great to see you. And hello to my special guest, Sylvester. You ruined the surprise. So my guest tonight is a psychic medium who I haven't met before, named Sylvester Allen. And I'm excited to meet him. He looks like a cool dude. And one of my best friends' name is Christopher Allen, and he's a psychic medium. So I was like immediately brought to mind, that psychic vibe. So welcome to Holding Space for the first time, Sylvester Allen. What's up, Sylvester?
Hey, what's up, Michael? Thanks for having me. What's going
How you
on?
doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to meet you. I'm excited to talk to you and find out all about you. I appreciate you bringing some friends along. I see some new names in the chat, so thank you guys for all showing up for this. But one of the first things that I like to do, I mean, I know everybody's got a different story. Some people, have always kind of been in touch with spirit. Some people come to it after an accident or some sort of trauma. There's so many different ways that people come to it, and I want to find out exactly how you came to it. But I also want to know if there's a specific moment, maybe this is where the story starts, I don't know, but a specific moment that you can remember that things were not what you thought they were. In other words, not what they teach you in school about, the 3D world that we live in, but something beyond that. Is there a moment that you have that's specific that you can tell us about, or how did that all
Wow.
happen for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like you hear this story from every single, well, not every single, but a lot of mediums, to where they have this awareness of spirit when they were very young. And so is the case with me. And this is no surprise because you're much closer to the spirit world. I became aware of spirit when I was around the age of 6 years old, maybe even before that. And my father was in the military. I was stationed in Germany, or he was stationed in Germany, and we lived in Adolf Hitler, his main headquarters. And I remember as a child, I would hear the boots walking on the hardwood floors.
Wow.
There's sometimes when I was walking the hall, I would see Nazi soldiers like shaving and just walking around.
Whoa.
And, as a kid, I'm seeing this and I'm telling my mom exactly what it is that I'm seeing. And she's kind of freaked out about it. And that's my first encounter that I can remember experiencing spirit. And,
Wow.
all the way up until about like maybe 8 years of age or so, and then it just kind of just went not dormant, but it's something that I really did not think about until much later.
Right. Well, okay, so let me backtrack a little bit, right? Because you said, "Oh, this is a story that you hear a lot of psychics mediums tell," right? And I know the part that you're referring to is the part that you were young and that you were, like you said, you're close. I think you're closer to source when you're younger, right? Where we're not covered with all of these ideas and beliefs at that point. So, we're still really fresh. So that part I get, but the other part, I don't think I've ever heard anything like that. That you grew up actually in like a place that I can imagine held so much energy, Adolf Hitler's headquarters.
Yes.
That's pretty crazy. Can you tell me a little bit more about that memory, that experience before we move forward?
Yeah, what I will say is I remember it and I thought it was just normal. I wasn't I can
Sure.
distinctly remember not being afraid. It wasn't creepy to me.
Mhm.
Um, I will say this though, there was one time to where we were walking by and there was like this archway and it was like this big empty room, this big empty space. And in there, I remember it was like a bathroom and the soldiers were in there shaving. And I remember they turned to look at me. And even then I was not afraid of it.
Wow.
Um, the knocking or the boots like on the wooden floors, I would hear that. I would have spirit people sit on my bed. And I remember communicating with these people that I saw. Nothing that scared me. And of course, you're 5, 6 years old. What do you know about Nazis when you're describing to your parents that you're seeing these soldiers?
Sure.
So that was really what I remember of it. And I'm going to be honest with you, even now looking back at it, it was a magical experience.
Sure. Well, I can imagine your essence at that point is much more playful, right? Because again, you're not covered up with all of these belief systems and these ideas. And so these are just energies that you're going to play with, right? I mean, I'm
Oh yeah,
imagining that's really amazing. I have not heard a story like that. And even the aspect, that you just kind of, again, I'm just responding, right? So the aspect that came out of me, that you're in a more playful essence and moment. I've, not to jump right into this, right? But I've had conversations on this show, the ideas of energy, the ideas of um I don't really even know what you would call it, but here's two words that you don't hear together often: forgiving Hitler, right? The idea of forgiveness, right? Towards a soul that may have been lost, or whatever it is. um and uh, Again, just to hear the story of you being 6 years old in that energy and experiencing that energy, and like, you didn't have to conjure forgiveness. Like you said, you didn't know what Nazis were or anything. These were just energies. So that's why I was asking you to, if you had any more memories about it. But that's also interesting too. Like you said, that there was this a room that was a bathroom, and you felt like they acknowledged you, these entities, these energies acknowledged you. What was that like? I guess you don't remember at 6 years old.
I remember it, and I just thought, okay, they're seeing me walk here because I was walking to my babysitter's apartment that was down the hall.
Mhm.
And it was just normal to me. I didn't think there was anything out of the ordinary. Um, I knew that home was safe. I knew that my parents loved me. I loved being at home with my brothers and sisters, and there were always like friends coming over. I had a nanny as well, and
Mhm.
um, so just to have people around, I was very much used to that, and I did not think that was any different.
So was it like a barracks? Was it like there were a bunch of people living there, or this was your, like, home?
No, it was a whole bunch of people living here, so it was just like this big, huge, like building,
Mhm.
and building there were like apartments in these buildings. It was on the military base.
Mhm.
Uh, that's where we lived.
Wow. And so, did anybody else experience that you know of? Did you have any, like, stories with other people who are also experiencing that?
Yeah, so my parents would experience it. Um,
Wow.
n- Not really so much with my brother and sister. We were very close in age,
Mhm.
uh, but that was that. I mean, thinking of it now, I think that my nanny probably could hear, and my nanny was Jewish, and she was a Holocaust survivor, uh,
Mm.
and
Wow.
you know, um, thinking of it now, when I would talk to her about this, she was still so very kind after all of the hurt that she went through. She was the only one that survived of her family.
Wow.
Uh, so, thinking of that, um, yeah.
And how did she end up back in that place? You
Uh,
know?
well, it was Germany, so she lived in Germany.
So she
Uh,
never left.
she never,
Wow. So she survived the Holocaust actually there.
yeah, she
Wow.
survived it there. Um,
Amazing.
and, she, took care of me, my brother, and my sister.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's really fascinating.
Mhm.
So you said that you kind of put it away, right? Because I mean, I know that you're told, oh, these are your imaginary friends and things like that, and it's not, it's not accepted and stuff. So when did it come back? You said it kind of came back when you were a little bit older.
Yeah, I came back when I was a little bit older. It was, man, um, thinking of it, I was really sensitive and I used it in my whole career, just my intuition. And of course, I didn't know what it was, but
Mhm,
starting to do this work about 3 years ago,
mhm,
uh, and taking it very seriously. And I remember I was living in New York City, and I had never thought I never thought in a million years I'd be doing this work. If you would have asked me about this 3 years ago, I'd have been like, "You're crazy, you're nuts, you're bananas." And I remember I had a buddy coming over to visit me, and I remember clear as day when I opened up the door, and he was right there in front of me. There was like this big burst of electricity that just hit me, and it just went running up and down my body, and it was almost like I just couldn't shake it. And I really remember thinking, my friend seems really sad. And I said, "You're so sad. What's going on?" And he says, "I just got news that my best friend passed away last night."
mhm.
And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that." I said, "Is his name Juan?" Because I kept hearing Juan. And he was like, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" And I started giving details that I was given. At the time I didn't know what it was, but then I just said, "Well, maybe I should explore this a little bit."
Hmm.
And that's how it started.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So okay, so you slipped in, you said you used your intuition in your career. What were you doing previous to that moment?
Oh man, so I I started off my career at AT&T as an account manager, in business, and then I went into corporate training, instructional design, and then I climbed up and I was in New York City. I worked in electric and natural gas, and ended up becoming a VP of a energy firm in New York City, one of the largest ones.
Wow.
And I was having a good time in New York. I was living the life. I was it was good, but and I have no real education. Everything, every step that I made, I felt like I was being guided. Every decision I could really tap in. Who is it that I need to talk to? Who is it that I need to okay, what account is going to bring in the most money? Just kind of like proving myself here and there. And
Mm,
that's exactly what I was doing. I was using that psychic ability without knowing exactly what it was,
wow.
reading people, feeling people. How does this person feel? Who is this? And I just kind of use it to my advantage.
And was that intentional or you just kind of it was intuitive? It was just you intuitively.
I just intuitively was doing it.
That's great. That's great. And the thing that's kind of coincidental, right? We don't believe in coincidences is it was an energy firm, right? And I mean everything is energy. Everything is made of energy and that's like it was a little bit of a message maybe, right? Like not like straightforward energy, but like hey, maybe you should be working with energy.
You know what, Mike? I'm just now getting that. So yeah, I never thought before, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
totally. The message was clear the whole time. That's amazing. So okay, so this experience was it sounded like it was visceral, right? Like this guy showed up and you just knew what was going on and then you started kind of rattling off details. Now, what did that feel like? Was do you know what Claire that was? Was it voices that you were hearing? Was it images that you were seeing?
Yeah, I remember it was feeling, and it was hearing. So my
Okay.
clear feeling, my clear hearing.
Hmm.
Uh, to be very honest with you, I was going through just a really tough time. There was a big transition. COVID had happened. Um, wasn't happy in the position that I was anymore.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Hmm.
going through a really big change, a really big change, and this just showed up for me, and I just thought, okay, let me explore it. I'm curious about this. I
Hmm.
uh, Let me see where it takes me. And it was just really starting off with like doing tarot, just
Hmm.
learn, then to going to a mediumship circle, and then into really studying. Um, and I remember things were falling apart, and I remember getting ready, and I was, I heard the voice of the divine literally say to me, "You can have your old life back.
Hmm.
You can have your old life back, or you can trust and see where this goes."
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. So, okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. Like, you decided, okay, you had this experience, and you decided to pursue it, right? Like, what did this mean? What? Let me learn more about it. So, you said you started with tarot, and then I was thinking an intuitive development class, right? Like probably like finding somebody who would recognize, what you were experiencing and kind of help guide you through it. Um, so you said tarot first. So was that just like you were just like, let me see what happens? Let me just buy a deck of cards. And I mean, did you know anything about metaphysical stuff before that other than the experience when you were 6?
I knew nothing about metaphysical stuff. I knew nothing of tarot.
Mhm,
Uh, I just started doing research, came up on YouTube, saw tarot readers, and I said, okay, this is naturally where I'm supposed to start.
mhm,
Um,
mhm, mhm,
that's what I did. And what I've noticed is I knew the definitions of the cards, of course, but also there was more information that was coming to me than just what was on the card. Like I can look and see past the card. It was really speaking to me intuitively. And when I started doing readings and I started giving people evidential information and seeing things, and then all of a sudden the numbers started to appear. When I read for people psychically, numbers just appear to me.
Oh
And the
wow.
numbers are like a mathematical code that gives me more insight as to what's going on. I give people a lot of dates and a lot of times, and uh, I never question it. Like even now, planets have just started showing up for me when I do readings. I have to talk about planets and on this date, this planet and this placement. And I know
Mm,
nothing about astrology.
right, right.
Um, it's been a wonderful journey. I was very lucky to get into the psychic, do that. Started reading people, and I said, you know what, I need to take this seriously. Then I started looking into mediumship, and that's whenever I started to really study. So for the first year working psychically, everything was self-taught. I
Mm,
taught myself about psychism. I
mhm.
learned just because my guides were showing me, um, and then went into mediumship after that.
Okay, so you're referring to your guides. How do your guides show up for you?
They show up just a feeling, a knowing. I can hear them when I sit and meditate. They are there,
Mhm.
and I just kind of took the directive. And
And I'm just kind of feeling this out, right? Because I mean, I am obviously immersed in this world. I resonate very strongly with all of the stories that I hear and I talk about and I listen to. Um, but I personally, the way I operate. I guess I don't even call my guides guides, right? I call it my intuition, because it doesn't show up for me as personified or with a name, or a visual to it. It's really like a thought, right? It's like a feeling, for me, and so it's always interesting to me to hear how different people's guides show up in different forms. I'm friends with a lot of trans channelers, and that's super interesting to me also how that shows up. And the biggest thing for me is I find it very difficult to deny anybody of their experience. Right.
Mhm.
So and that's, I guess, what brought me here to write the seat where I'm holding space for other people to talk about their experiences, because I can create a safe space for that. Because of my own energy. But that's kind of my role in all of this, right? Like I don't read people necessarily. Like I've been on shows where with a reader and they're like, oh no, come on, you could do it, and they urge me to do it. It sounds very much like, and I guess I'm reading you, right? It sounds very much like you do completely trust, right? Like you don't question anything. It just happens, and you're sensitive enough to it to just recognize it and say, "Oh, it's happening, and here's what's coming through." Like doo, 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 the message is coming through, the telegraph is coming through. And I envy that. I really do, because I know for me, that's kind of one of the challenges is completely letting go, right?
Mhm.
And maybe I'm just afraid, right? Because I know that once I do, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just scared. I don't know. And I'm just even just saying that out loud now. I welcome it. I feel like I welcome it. I feel like in this moment in time in humanity, there are so many things that I can be looking at and have fear and anger and all of the things that are outside going on in the outside world, but I don't experience those things. I feel very, very hopeful. I feel very, very connected to humanity. I feel connected to myself in ways that I haven't that I didn't when I was younger. I feel like you said COVID, right, was about the time that this was happening. I feel like that was a very, very specific moment in humanity. And I do remember moments of feeling that suddenly everything was different than the world had been before. And one of those things was certainty.
Mm.
I feel like um, there was just this feeling of certainty pre-COVID, and COVID just kind of opened up this door to uncertainty. Like,
Mm.
what is going on? What is going to happen? And I feel like, fortunately, a lot of people took that opportunity to do exactly what we're talking about and trust, right? Instead of look at all of the details and go, but this guy's lying and that's happening and this is happening, and the division, there's so many people, especially here on the Sacred Spiral Network, that are kind of outside of that.
Mhm.
Which I'm grateful for. And again, it's like it's a place where I can feel comfortable and not have to engage in those conversations, right? And again, I'm not ignoring what's going on outside of me, right? But I'm knowing and I'm trusting that I only have control of what's going on inside of me and what I can bring to the outside, right? And that's where I got to go. And it sounds like you're very much on that same page, which is great. And Nicole is saying Sylvester Surrender. I guess that's a I don't know if that's a little nickname or something, but that's what's coming through, and that's exactly what we're talking about. Um, and Bernadette is asking, how did you deal with self-doubt and others' judgments of your gifts? That's a great question. I always like to know that. I feel really I respect people who, like yourself, who are just kind of trusting in their gift and make it public.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Bernadette. How did I deal with self-doubt? I learned to accept myself for everything that I am, and it's easier said than done. To be comfortable in your own skin and know that this is who you are, and embracing that. I believe there's always going to be that part of us that is nervous to demonstrate, or when we sit in front of a client, or even when we come on a show with Michael Zen, to where you feel this nervousness. I don't think that ever goes away. Um, but just being comfortable in your own skin, being your true authentic self, and understanding that those that are meant to be around you, those that are going to be drawn to you, will accept you for who you are.
Yeah,
um, and that's how I do it.
I love that. I love that. And what you made me think as you were saying that too, and I think this is for me, this is how things worked for me, um, is judgment of others, right? I feel like when I started to not judge others, I started to not judge myself as much. And the other way around. When I
Hmm.
started to not judge myself as much, I started to not judge others. And I feel like, those are great revelations, right? And great moments. And Arnie saying, I love that. I say the same, be the authentic you. I think that's, for me, authenticity is like one of the biggest ingredients that I think makes an amazing soul.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And like you're saying, I think that, and this goes back to kind of what I said, when you were 6 years old, we're not covered by a lot of these beliefs, but by the time we're 20, we're covered by all of these beliefs, and we are thinking about, well, how are people going to receive me, right? You're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking about the outside in.
Hmm.
And I think that, finally, you know the wisdom is being passed on to people of, look within. The statements where people say you have everything you need inside, those kinds of beliefs. I think the more and more people who subscribe to those beliefs, the more communities like the Sacred Spiral grow, and then people like yourself can feel more comfortable not worrying about what other people are going to think, because everybody is already open, to the idea. I was talking to you earlier about this show and why I do it, and the idea of the puzzle piece, right? Bringing a different puzzle piece, to my show. uh that's also another huge thing for me, is just realizing how unique and different everybody is, and the beauty in that, right? Not the division in that, like, well, you're different than me. It's like, oh my God, explain what that's like, because I don't know what that's like. and
Hmm.
and share it, and again, that's the whole idea of community, and being there for each other and being in service. um I was just watching an old interview I did, and it was really making me smile. A couple years back, I had an interview. This is kind of out of left field, right? I had an interview with Flat Earth Dave. I don't know if you know who Flat Earth Dave is, but Flat Earth Dave is one of the ambassadors for the Flat Earth movement.
Hmm.
And again, just being who I am, I'm not saying anything good or bad. I don't subscribe to the idea of flat Earth,
Hmm.
um, but I wanted to have a conversation with him to get on a common ground, to find some common ground in the moment. It was a couple years ago, and there was a lot of division going on, right? So I actually saw him on interviews, and people were just like, "Oh, you're an idiot," and like saying things. I'm like, how do you say that to another human being? Like why would you treat somebody like that? And again, that's what kind of prompted me to have him on my show. And we just talked about, again, we came to this common ground about being souls, that are having a human experience, and to find that he believed that. And then the common ground that I believed was, again, not to get into conspiracy theories or this or that, because I feel like there's an energy with all of that stuff, right,
Hmm.
that you need to find a balance with. But the idea that the things that we know are not necessarily, I don't want to say the truth, that's not the word I want to use, but we don't necessarily know things, right? Like some of the narratives, the history of humanity, may have been manipulated. Again, I see, I don't even like kind of like talking about it in that way, but again, it's being aware of it, and I think it's navigating it in a way of, what can I bring to that? You know what I mean? And what I can bring is just love, right? And that's what I choose to bring, me personally. And again, a lot of the people who come to this show and who are in the Sacred Spiral Network, you know, there's two camps, right? This is the way I look at it. We're all in it together, or every man for himself, right?
Mhm.
Those are the two camps. And you know, I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious, you know, and I've already signed up and made all my commitments to, we're all in this together. Which is why right now, like you said, here we are, you know, you and me, never having met, but just having common ground and common thoughts about how the world should be, so that we can talk and we can kind of have a conversation with an amazing audience that's just like, you know, here to receive that love that we have to give.
And
So that being said, let me ask you what you are most excited about in this moment in time.
in this moment in time, I'm most excited about trance. Entrancement is what most excites me. Uh,
Okay.
I love doing trance. Um, I love the beauty of it. I love the blending of spirits. I love, um, you know, had a sitting today with a friend of mine, and we were talking, and we were just, sitting in trance. And I said, I don't know if I like trance because I can be lazy, and there's nothing. I can just be lazy and just not do any of the work. Um, there is a little bit of that too.
Interesting. So, all right, well, let's backtrack a little bit, because we jumped to that, right? So you developed your intuition, you started reading for people, you're going with the flow, right? You just trust the universe, and for the last 3 years, you said it's been just an amazing ride, and from what I can tell, and you're growing. All of these things are growing. So I'm imagining trance was something that you came upon just trying to learn, right? Is that how trance happened, or did all of a sudden you start channeling a trance channel?
What I will say is this: is that trance started around the same time that my mediumship did, and whenever there's a meditation that we do as mediums, it's called sitting in the power. And what I noticed when I was sitting in the power, it felt like I was going deeper, is what I will say. My
Okay.
instructors said, "Oh, you gotta go bright, you gotta think high, you gotta do all of that." Yes, but there were times in my sittings to where that wasn't happening, and I was going lower into these altered states.
Mm.
I just said, okay, this is where my team's wanting to take me. That's
Mhm.
just what it is.
Mhm.
I had no intention on even doing trance. I was asked by a medium, "Hey, there's this trance circle that we're gonna have. We're gonna start this.
Mhm.
Would you like to be a part of it?" I said, "Well, I don't do trance, but yeah, I'll go ahead and sit." And I sat in this private trance circle with these three other mediums for 2 years,
Mm.
and I just developed trance with my guides. My guides developed my trance. And I'd sit and I just would start with blending, and then it would start with maybe like one word would come out, and then by the end of the 2 year period, I was just doing full on trance communication.
Wow. So maybe you can help me open up my understanding of trance, right? Because from my understanding, trance channeling is um the channel connecting with an entity or an energy, and then that energy kind of taking control of the body, and either giving a message or light language, or even maybe just movement. It's not necessarily always a verbal communication. Is that correct?
Uh, uh, s- a little bit, yeah. So
Okay. Well, so how did it happen for you?
so yeah, that's how it happened. It's not necessarily possession, right?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
really in the altered states. So whenever you're doing mediumship, your brain is at a certain hertz, right?
Mhm.
Whenever you're here, whenever you're doing mental mediumship, and it goes even lower whenever you're working in a trance state. So my guys were working with me and putting me lower. I was getting used to blending, feeling the energies, and I would just sit, and I would sit, notice what was happening to my body. One day, my throat started tingling. Then a word came out. Then after that, another word came out. Then I would, maybe speak for 2 minutes, and that 2 minutes turned to 10, and that 10 turned to 15.
Okay.
And they were teaching me how to step back to where the biggest thing with trance is getting out of it completely.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
Happens is that the spirit imprints, they speak through you. The words are totally spirits, they're not mine. They're
right.
not. I totally step out of the way. Trance is always going. It's always communication. Communication is always going. I had a
Mhm,
teacher. Um, Thought and speech happen at the same time.
mhm,
So
mhm,
think and you speak, it all happens at once, right?
mhm,
I'm thinking and thinking at the same time. It's
mhm.
not until that speech is interrupted by our thought when we
Right.
try to manipulate that information and then speak. You can always grab onto the channel. Like, for instance, if I was to reach here and I would say, rains come down and hit the grass, and that grass starts to turn green. It goes into the soil of the earth, and from this, the flower will sprout. Okay, you can just keep going and going and going. Some people will call it inspirational speaking, some people will call it channeling, but whenever you go deeper into the trance states to where the brain slows down,
Mhm,
uh, that's when really great things can happen. Like a spirit can start to manipulate the energy of the space. Some trance mediums, the voice will change.
mhm,
Of
mhm,
course, healing in trance. You can do trance evidential mediumship.
mhm.
There is overshadowing to where the spirit will come and literally overshadow, and it won't be the medium's face; it will be the spirit's face.
Mm.
Mm. So trance is a wonderful thing. I'm always amazed by the intelligence and the power of the spirit world. What is it that the spirit world can do? And that is always blowing my mind on a daily basis. And
Mhm,
trance
mhm.
something is just blowing my mind right now.
I can totally relate to that. I feel like there have been moments in conversations with people on this show, even where like I'll just kind of go into something and it's just coming out, and then I'll finish and I'll be like, wait a second, what did I just say? Like, it's thoughts, it's my thoughts, it's not necessarily a trans channel, right? But it is, I think, a level of what you're talking about, right? And that's kind of new to me, that whole idea of just kind of getting into that state. So my questions for you would be, first of all, um do you remember, was there any significance to those first words that you uttered? Do you remember what they were, or you just remember that they formed and that was really the lesson, the whole, that was what you got out of it?
That's just what I got out of it. The
Right.
words, I mean, when I first started speaking in trance, I'm sure looking back at the recordings, the words that were coming out did not make sense.
Mhm, mhm,
The spirit is just working with you to get you comfortable to speak, when to
mhm,
speak.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
So it's all a process.
Interesting. Interesting. And so now, as you developed it, is there, because I haven't heard you say this yet, right? Is there a specific entity or essence that you're channeling, or is it just information?
No, there's my guide that comes through me, that that I channel. I'm gonna. Uh, this is something that I really kept private for the past 2 years. I'm just now starting to kind of get out there and demonstrate my trance.
Okay.
Uh, the guide that channels through me, his name is Vega.
Vega.
Vega is his name. That's what I've
Right.
been.
Cool.
But it comes directly from the spirit. The words come through the channel.
Mhm, mhm. And is it like wisdom for humanity? Is it a message specifically to a sitter that you might be sitting with, or both?
It could be both, but it's normally wisdom to humanity.
Mhm, mhm,
Uh, is when he comes through. Um, it's philosophy.
Mhm, mhm,
Just some of the things that he says are profound, and it's not me. The
mhm,
essence is not me. The way I speak is not me.
mhm.
Uh, it blows my mind. Even thinking of it now,
Yeah.
it blows my mind.
I'm a little envious, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm so close to the idea, right? And I feel like I have my own relationship with source and with energy, right? You know, it doesn't necessarily manifest itself that way. You know, but I certainly feel like one, like I can certainly receive messages, right? When I'm watching other like, you know, I mean, like I'm a big fan of Bashar, right? And that doesn't mean like I follow Bashar and every word he says, I'm like, oh my God, you know what I mean? But like the messages that are coming through, the energy that's being conveyed is resonating.
Mhm.
And I love that what you're saying, that it's wisdom and philosophy, because I feel like that's what's been missing, you know, from our education system, you know, for a long time, from our communities, from our essences, you know, as human beings. I think again, without getting into conspiracy theories or anything like that, I think that that's been stripped away slowly, you know, in different ways, right? Some of them malevolent intentions, some of them just kind of, you know, comfort zone. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You know, the industrial revolution, you know what I mean? Like you know, when I'm a kid growing up, like it's the most amazing thing that I live in this world that's so comfortable. And now when I'm an adult, I'm like, wow, I think we took a left turn with the industrial revolution, right? And I'm always like, I wish I was living back on a farm, you know, and growing my own food and raising my own livestock, you know, like much more connected with the earth, you know, and nature and existence in general, right? Like I feel like the industrial revolution, it gave us a chance to disconnect from existence on many ways, you know, like some of those things, being connected with the earth. So all right, we have a great question from Bernadette. Is Vega from a different planet? The name reminds me of the cat beings.
Cat beings. What I will say is this: is that he is not from here. He is from a place that is distant, from what I understand, a completely different star system. When he comes through, and those that have experienced him, there's just something really old and ancient about him, and something very, very wise.
Mm, cool.
You know, I was told, just because he revealed himself in my trance group that I said in privately, and they were like, "Well, the name might mean something. What exactly does Vega mean?"
Mhm.
And it's apparently like the second brightest star in some constellation. I'm not sure, really.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there is a Vega star system actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. You know, it's really interesting you bring that up, and maybe just for the opportunity to say this, right? And to speak about this and see what you think about this.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of trans channels talk about channeling beings that are from other celestial places, right? More like of a cosmic, some sort of cosmic entity that comes from a faraway place, right? And I think we also as humans um have this idea of the universe as space and planets and star systems,
Mhm.
um but also now I think it's kind of coming to light that you know, there is no physical existence, right? Reality, quantum physics, and these things are talking about there's no physical realities. The idea in spiritual communities that time doesn't exist as a past, present, and future, but all at once, right? All of these things. So it's interesting when I hear Bashar and when I hear you talking about your guide being like this other cosmic thing. Like I can get that as a human being, as what I think of the universe, but I'm also starting to feel like I relate to it as a dimensional expression. You know what I mean? Like there's some sort of definition there that even though my brain is putting it as distance and space and planets, that's not necessarily 100% what it is. It's just something that allows me to understand it.
Exactly.
You know, because it's kind of outside of language and human comprehension.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I love talking about that stuff. Trying to figure it out.
It's really neat. Again, I don't ask too many questions. I know when he first appeared, I would feel him in trance, and
Mhm,
there was once to where I was blending, and I heard Vega, and
mhm,
at him I could feel his energy coming closer to me.
mhm, mhm.
Said, okay, that's the name, and I would hear
Yeah,
that every time a particular guide would come through to blend and to speak.
that's a familiar energy now. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, and, Hat Powser says Vega is the name of an actual star in the constellation, Lyra,
yeah.
and Devora is, validating that time is not linear. Um, I agree. It's amazing to I think that's a part of all of our spiritual journey, right, is kind of having these knowings of these concepts that are just outside of human concepts, right, that we've been familiar with. Time is not linear. Like how do you wrap your head around that, right? um but somehow it feels okay, right? It resonates.
Mhm.
So I think that's interesting. Arnie is saying twice in meditation he had gotten a name, Jacos Tier. He never saw it, he just felt, and this unpacked over time with light codes, and felt it was a master group consciousness from Lyra slash Vega. Was this trance? I don't think you even need to ask that, Arnie. I think it seems pretty obvious to me that that's at least and kind of what I was saying earlier, everybody's different, right? So trance, I'm imagining it's kind of a similarity between how it appears for people, but it's also an individual experience, right? On what it brings, what it feels like, what comes out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Every medium is different.
Yeah, amazing. Time ain't a thing at all from what I understand. Yeah. I agree with that. Amazing, amazing. So now I guess you're saying you're 3 years kind of into being public and really kind of being focused and letting go and trusting, and so where are you now besides appearing on shows on the Sacred Spiral Network where people are getting to see who you are? What's your life like outside of that? Like, I know you have a website. I'm going to bring up your website here real quick. Let Spirit Guide You, sylvesterallen.com. So if you're resonating with Sylvester here, you can totally get in touch with him here on his website. But what's your I don't love the word mission, but that's kind of a good way to describe it. What's your mission now? Where are you at? What are you doing? What are you focusing on?
Sure. I'll be very honest with you. I'm in the position where I am still developing. I'm always growing, always learning. I am blessed to be in a position where I can demonstrate. I've demonstrated on a platform with some really awesome mediums, like some of the best mediums in the world. I've gotten great opportunities to be in front of people and to show what it is that I can do. And I'll be honest with you, I'm just having fun. I
That's
never
great.
thought out to be a medium. And mediumship, it's about yourself. It's about Sylvester. The mediumship just comes as the sprinkle on top, right? What I find is that this journey is not about the mediumship. This journey is about me
Mm,
and being who I am. And from that, things just happen and I just accept it for what it is. And I'm just going to take this ride until the wheels fall off the bus.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna give you a tagline. You just gave it to me, but I'm gonna give it to you back. Sylvester, I put the me in medium.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that?
That's pretty That's what it's about.
Awesome, awesome. I agree, and I do love that. And again, like I said, for me, like I'm excited because I do feel like I may wake up one day and there may be some sort of entity sitting at the end of my bed going, "Hey, what's up? I'm here finally." You know what I mean? Maybe not, right? But I get to enjoy my journey, with friends who are psychic mediums, and I always talk about how I have this like psychic fetish because I don't go and I don't pursue readings for myself. I'm not like, oh, I want to talk to a psychic, but if I get the opportunity to be around a psychic who's reading other people, I will. Because I'm sensitive to the energy. I feel it. It's so emotional. And I just love it. I feel like for me, there was a moment that I realized, like, when I would start getting emotional, that meant I was in touch with my soul at that moment. Like there was something in that moment that was significant.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of started to really, I think, pursue the different folks that I pursued, because it was like watching, like I had watched a channeler, Sarah Curley. I had never seen anyone, this was many years ago, channeling light language. It was the first time I experienced it, and I had an emotional reaction. Like when I saw a video, I had an emotional reaction. Then when I was watching the video because my friend was hosting an event with her. He said, "Oh, check this person out." I said, "Oh, I got to go see it live." And then when I went live, I had an emotional reaction. I spoke to her afterwards. I said, "Do you do one-on-ones?" We had a one-on-one emotional reaction. It was just so amazing. And Evelyn saying, "I saw you on Karen's show. You really seem to enjoy it." Uh, she says, "I'd love to see you channel. We're coming to the end of the show. I don't know how you're feeling, if you're feeling anything or not." Um, all good. I kind of sensed it a little bit earlier on, like maybe something was coming through, or about to come through. But I don't want to put you on the spot. I think you're really amazing. I definitely love your energy. I'm super excited for you. Like I said, even a little jealous that this is coming through for you. Not in it. Jealous is not envious. I'm not
Yeah.
envious. I'm excited for you. I really am. And if you would, want to come back and be more prepared and channel for us, or do some readings, you're totally welcome anytime here on my show. You're a new friend of mine, I hope. And
Yeah.
yeah.
You let me know. I would love to actually demonstrate if you would have me back again.
Yeah.
Uh, and everyone see the really cool things that Spirit can do with the screen and the trance configuration and the speaking. Yeah, I would love to do that.
Amazing. Yes, you're welcome back anytime. So and Mark says it was work waking up early, 3:45, to watch this discussion. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank
That
you.
made it worth it for me to have the discussion, even though it was already worth it. But that made it even more worth it that there was somebody out there receiving this energy. That's what it's all about. We're all here to transmit love and receive love. So hopefully, if you guys are out there, that's what you received today. What's up, Sarah? Good to see you. Awesome, Sylvester. Is there anything that you want to finish up with here to tell my audience / your audience? Because I see you brought a lot of friends here tonight. Is there any not necessarily a channeled message, but just the message for the night?
No message for the night. I want to say thank you so much, Michael, for holding space and sharing the space with me. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and discussing everything. It's always an honor and a privilege, and I can't thank you all enough. I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. You can find me on my website. You can find me on Facebook, Sylvester Allen, TikTok, Medium, Sylvester Allen. Hopefully I'll see you around.
Awesome. And Hat Pauser reminds me to do the soliciting thing and say, anybody watching, please hit the like button. It definitely helps grow this community, grow these conversations, and it's free. And I offer 100% money back guarantee. So if you're ever not satisfied, just let me know and I will give you your money back. and we will see you guys again. Thanks, Sylvester, for showing up. I really do appreciate it. And yes, you Sarah, you just caught the end, so you're gonna have to go back and watch the replay. Sylvester was an amazing guest. We had an amazing discussion about his guide Vega and his journey with trance channeling, which I can't wait to actually have live on the show. So we'll come back and we'll do that. I will be live on Thursday on the live stream of consciousness, and I'll be back again next week here on Tuesday for Holding Space. So thank you guys all for showing up. I totally appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, guys.